22. DSC Reason noted that the open quote Australia Day ceremony, close quote, discussed in the defendant's posts did go ahead on 31 July 2020, with United Kingdom of Australia members attending war memorials in Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, Cairns, Mackay, Launceston, Geelong and Canberra. Detective Senior Constable Reason said that the ceremonies in Sydney, Melbourne and Perth all exceeded 20 attendees, and attendees were arrested or moved on in Melbourne and Sydney. He's lying about Melbourne, right? And he's the cause behind Sydney. And he very openly admits right here that he used a police force against a peaceful organisation that fit within the boundaries of international law. He attacked something that had a right, both nationally, federally, and internationally. He openly admits right here to employing others into his scheme to undermine something that is not linked to any form of terrorism whatsoever, to attempt to frame Ewer by putting him into the court system under a terrorism act. 21. According to Detective Senior Constable Matthew Reason's affidavit, the defendant's take on his own activities was that his videos were not threatening, but open quote, telling the truth about what would happen, close quote. He's a little bit skewed in his truth, but he is right in what he's saying. The rules already appear on the table. They don't need to be made for them to be enacted. There is a Brereton report currently on the Australian Defence Force in relation to its activities in Afghanistan. Don't think that the United Nations won't come here, like they did with their investigators, to create a report on corrective services in the state of New South Wales. 20. These activities led to the arrest of the defendant at his home on 30 July 2020. He was charged with 2 counts of, open quote, use carriage service to menace, harass and or offend, close quote, and with firearms offences related to a, open quote, gel blaster pistol, close quote, found at his home. So we can see not only did Matthew Reason involve the police of all the states, it is this information that led to him being arrested. And it was this information that led to these very spurious and speculative claims being put on the court record in relation to his defence. And we already see that Matthew Reason's reasons have been shot down like a Lancaster bomber. And all the bombs that he intended to drop were just defamations in an attempt to undermine an organisation at which obviously the state feels threatened. There is a line of authority held within that crown that defines the right to do certain things within the country. If that crown is not sat in, then it can only be said that you are occupied by something foreign to you. 19. However, concerns about him continued, and he was observed during both 2019 and 2020. Detective Senior Constable Reason, in his affidavit, sets out the bases upon which he holds concerns about the defendant as a member of, open quote, the United Kingdom of Australia, close quote. The beginning of Matthew Reason's affidavit sets out, the United Kingdom of Australia, UKOA, is an organisation which holds beliefs that are commonly referred to as those of the sovereign citizen movement. This means that they do not consider the laws of Australia to be legitimate, nor do they believe that such laws should or do apply to them. The ideologies of the sovereign citizen movement have their origins in a number of anti-government movements which emerged in the United States of America in the 1970s. UKOA is one of a number of sovereign citizen groups and individuals which I have been monitoring since commencing my duties at the Fixated Persons Investigation Unit in 2018. Now, we can go through this affidavit later, but what can be noted is what's not redacted from it by the Justice when she has redacted other information from this document. Now, Matthew Reason makes a very large assumption based on his Facebook interactions with a whole bunch of ignorant people that are shuffling a whole bunch of ignorant data around all day, every day. Matthew Reason is not aware of the fact that I've done this in a courtroom through law for the last 15 years. These are not American-centric ideas, given that the blessing of Almighty God is defined in the Commonwealth of Australia Constitution Act, July 1900, UK/PGA. It is in that blessing of Almighty God that foundations are found and can determine that those foundations separate foundations of an occupying power or nanny state that has sought to manage God's kingdom. We have documents that have been released to the National Archives which demonstrate since 1954 the undoing or dismantling of a country into what is now Australia. This is already occupied, taken over land. And Matthew Reason can deny it all he likes. He can go and believe all his American-centric style propaganda and fail to put the connections together that lie under the blessing of Almighty God. It's that simple. I have shown people the beginnings of those foundations, which is why there is a dedication to return to them. It's not returning to a king, it's returning to the foundations left by your ancestors that are propped up by a king. 18. All of this led to his coming under the observation of the New South Wales Police Fixated Persons Unit, which, having observed him for a period, concluded via Detective Senior Constable Gatwood in December 2019 that he was, open quote, not a threat at the time, close quote. State Protection Squad has gathered men together and called them Fixated Persons Unit. What's a person? Define the title of your office. You are Fixated Persons Unit. Define what a person is, and then explain to the people why your job role is so fixated on those persons.